It's here, ladies and gentlemen, the much awaited Tata Sierra. It has taken the internet by storm since its arrival, and you have seen everything there is to see about it. I know you have formed your opinion about its styling, you have seen its interior, you know about the specs and features and everything in between. But today we are in Chandigarh to drive this. On my right is the Hyperion, on my left is the Krojet, both in automatic gearboxes. And let's not waste any time and get down to it. You're watching Car and Bike, I'm Bilal, and before we go ahead, you know the drill. It's like, share and subscribe to the Car and Bike YouTube channel if you haven't already, and hit the bell icon as well so that you can be notified every time we bring out a new video from the world of cars and bikes. Now, the Sierra enters a segment which is highly competitive and highly crowded. In fact, let's for fun count its competition. Now, you have the segment leader, the Hyundai Creta, and sibling, the Kia Seltos. Then there's the Japanese sibling, the Maruti Suzuki Grand Vitara, and the urban cruiser Hyrider. Then comes the German pair, which is Volkswagen Tiguan and the Skoda Kushaq. And then there are a couple without any twins. There's the Honda Elevate and the MG Aster. And finally, even the sibling from the Tata stable itself, the Tata Curve. So yeah, when a car enters in a very highly competitive and highly crowded segment, it needs to offer more. And the Sierra, it does offer more. You know that there are three engine options. There's a 1.5 liter four-cylinder naturally aspirated engine, which is new, and I'm sure a lot of buyers would be opting for that or would be interested in that. And sadly, we don't have that car on offer to or to drive today. And we will have to test that engine out for sure, because that engine might be the cream of the crop of the lot. But right now we have two engine options. The first one is the TGDI, the 1.5 liter four-cylinder direct injection, and it's available with a torque converter. And then the naturally aspirated engine that we discussed right now, that comes with a DCT. Now, usually the manufacturers, they try to offer their sportier versions, the TGDI or the turbo petrol engine with a dual clutch transmission. And here, the more sportier engine, the TGDI, it's available only with a torque converter. Why is that, you may ask? And there's a very logical explanation to that, and let me give it to you. Now, you see the DCA, which is the dual clutch transmission that Tata has, it is an in-house transmission, and offering it with the naturally aspirated engine will keep the cost down. Now, I say it will keep the cost down is because the 6-speed torque converter, it's been sourced from Ace in Japan, and that will cost more. And that's what we are driving here today. Now, this 1.5 liter TGDI turbo petrol engine, let's talk more about it in fine detail. Now, the first thing that I need to tell you about is how it is on idling. Now, I've stopped. On idling, when I first sat in the car, the engine was running and we had to double check because there are literally no vibrations inside the cabin. Right now, the engine is running, it's idling between 700 and 800 RPM, and there's barely any audible noise. There's no vibration at all, which makes me think that this engine, it's very refined. The four-cylinder, very well balanced. And this is something that we usually expect from a Japanese engine, and that is a huge compliment. And then when you have to get going, this smoothness, it continues with this engine. The initial pull, it's nice and easy, smooth, and again, as the revs start to climb, the vibration does not kick in. And again, that's a really good thing to have when you have a very well balanced four-cylinder engine. But there is one slight nickel that I have a complaint about, and for that I'll have to stop on my tracks once again. Now, you see, modern cars, they have eliminated the proper physical handbrake, and in its place is an electronic parking brake. Now, usually the electronic parking brake or the EPB, it is a switch which you can manually operate. For example, when I have to park somewhere and I don't want to put it in all the way to the park, I'll slide it to neutral and then pull on the handbrake and stand on my tracks. But here there are no button, or there's no way you can actually control the electronic parking brake. What this does is, if I put this in park, okay, now it automatically engages the handbrake. That's fine by me. And then when I have to get going, I'll put it in D and start going. What this does is the handbrake, it takes some time to really, like it's a microsecond to release the handbrake. And as soon as I go on the throttle, that slight delay will make the car squat. And it is a slightly weird thing to experience. Had it had a proper electronic handbrake that I can put it down, so once in D, I will disengage the electronic parking brake and then get going. So there's no squatting movement. But here, if you don't pay heed to it, it will obviously squat and it does feel a bit awkward. But that aside, this engine, it's really nice and easy to drive. It's free revving, and only past say 3000 rpm do you start to hear the engine. Now this is a direct injection, so it has the right amount of grunt when you want to put your foot down. It has the punch, it has the potential to go fast and hit the triple digit speed quite easily and nicely and effortlessly. In fact, I'm doing almost triple digit speed, and the tachometer is idling around say under 2000 rpm. So this engine has really nice grunt, a low end grunt, so when driving in and around the city you won't have any trouble whatsoever. And when you're doing highway speeds, there's enough grunt left in the engine because so much of it is already available lower down the rev range. Once you start to climb, it will give you a lot more punch when accelerating, especially when you have to do some quick overtakes. It is a free revving engine for sure, but it starts to go flat after say close to 5000 rpm. But more importantly, you don't need to go all the way there to get the best out of the engine. Now we have done close to 40 kilometers since morning with this engine, and I did set the trip to 0 to check how efficient it is. Now I don't expect this engine to be highly efficient, but it's been showing me around 8 kmpl on the MID. So that's the consumption you should be expecting at an average drive. We haven't accelerated it really hard. We haven't done bumper to bumper city traffic either. But an average between 8 to 10 on an everyday drivability is the fuel efficiency that you should expect from this engine.
Okay, we did check with Tata after the drive was done about the fuel efficiency and why the indicated mileage was hovering at 8 kmpl. And Tata said that this is a pre-production car and the configuration needs to be completed on the MID. So the real world fuel mileage might be better than we actually expected or experienced during our drive. As for this torque converter, it is smooth shifting, there's barely any lag, and there's barely or non-existent jerk that you'd expect from a gear shift. The upshifts are nice and smooth, even downshifting there's barely any noticeable difference. So this gearbox, it's really nice. It doesn't feel like a torque converter at all, but more of a dual clutch transmission, and that's a really good compliment that I could give this gearbox right now. But overall, how the gearbox performs in bumper to bumper traffic in a city, or how it performs on a long stretch of road trips, we'll have to wait to experience that when we have the car with us for a longer period of time.
And then we come to the ride quality and handling, and summing up in one single sentence is, I would say that this is a typical Tata product. If you have driven the Harrier, if you have driven the Curve even, this doesn't feel out of space. And this I mean as a compliment, because Tatas are made for India, so the ride quality is genuinely sorted. Now, we didn't find a lot of bad roads since morning, and when those occasional speed bumps or potholes comes through, it does manages to absorb it really well, like a typical Tata product O2. But the steering, it is not so quick. Going almost 3 turns lock to lock, you have to put in a lot of input if you are trying to go hard. Sure, the steering is not as heavy, or the controls aren't as heavy as you find it in the Harrier, but it's a good middle ground. It is almost as good as the Nexon and the Curve, and for everyday drivability, it won't tire you out. The visibility is fabulous, I would say. The long flat bonnet leads the way, the pillars aren't very thick, and even the rear visibility is really nice with an upright tailgate. Overall, the visibility I am a huge fan of. The ORVMs are large, and even the view out of the rear window, it's nice and easy. And credit where the credit is due is the overall ergonomics, because I'm sitting here in a Tata car, and over the last few years, the new product from Tata's lineup have always given me a huge reason to complain. And that complaint was the seat height. You don't have proper support for your shoulder blades. I still have a big complaint from this seats. I also had complaints from the short size of these seats. The backrest height was always falling short, and if you are spending long hours in the saddle, it would give you a pain in the shoulder blade because there was not enough support because of the short backrest height. Now here the seat, it's genuinely tall. It does offer right amount of support in the right places. Yeah, the width, it could be better because the bolsters are tugging in on the both the side of my back, but otherwise it's a nitpicking. It is a really nice seat to be in. You also get an adjustable under thigh support here, which is a feature we usually associate with really high end premium cars. That has been given here. Overall, the seating ergonomics is really nice. Also, the ergonomic flaws such as lack of cup holder or the lack of place to keep your phone in has been sorted here inside this new cabin. The visibility, as I said, is really nice, but even the way everything is placed, it doesn't feel very odd. The floating center console is nice. You can have your armrest in right places. The buttons are slightly lower placed and the cup holder is hard to reach. But again, I am nitpicking over here. Otherwise, for someone who wants to buy this car for everyday usability, this cabin is a really nice place to be in. I wonder how the second row is. Let's check that out. Now, on to the second row, and there are a few things that I need to address. Firstly, getting inside is nice and easy because of the good wide enough ingress, and once inside, you have a decent amount of space as well. The seats, this backrest, it is a bit upright for my liking, and even with this 2 or 3 degree of recline adjustment, it's still a bit upright. I would have preferred slightly more recline because I do have a lot of space to play over here. Now, for three people, it might have a good shoulder room. It reminds me of older Tatas, which were more spacious on the inside, especially for the second row. Now, the third thing that I need to point out is this B pillar. Now, we are not usually used to seeing such a thick B pillar, but that's done to the exterior design, the iconic design of the Sierra. To retain that, there is a thick B pillar, but the visibility outside is not that bad. The height for the windows are really good. It's well positioned, not too low, neither too high. But the thick B pillar will only be a hindrance if you want to look forward. And the second row passenger, they are not looking forward anyway. And as I mentioned about the ride quality up front, it is planned, well absorbent. Here at the back, it's no different. Passengers over here don't feel the irregularities, the bounciness that you usually feel at the back and not at the front. The ride quality here is well sorted as well. And compared to its rivals, it definitely does make for people who want a car for the second row space. Otherwise, the space over here is nice and easy. It's practical. The backseat pocket has space for your phone, for your papers. You have dedicated USB Type C ports. Also, there's an armrest with cup holders and a sunshade at the back. The panoramic sunroof is also large and nice, and it does make the cabin feel more airy. Even the quality of material used over here, you have soft touch plastics. Even the height for a tall rear passenger shouldn't be an issue. Now, this second row of the Sierra gets a thumbs up from me. And now let's talk about the diesel. Now, this is a 1.5 liter 4-cylinder Kyrojet, which is very familiar because it makes around 115 bhp and over 250 Newton meter. This is a proper Tata diesel. It has good enough torque right from the word go. The low end grunt is nice and easy. Even under 1500 rpm, you can actually pull away from a traffic signal, from a stop sign. You can actually do a quick overtaking maneuver without any effort. Now, this engine, it's really nice and grunty. The vibrations are slightly there, slightly noisier, but it's not as noisy as you'd associate from a 1.5 liter 4-cylinder diesel that we have experienced in older cars. And this engine, it's especially nice and easy to drive with this automatic gearbox. Yeah, you still get a proper automatic with the diesel in this segment. And what else do you want from a packaging where you get a really nice stocky diesel for your long trips, which is also slightly more frugal than your petrol engines, and it has a lot of grunt to play with. Now, talking about the fuel efficiency, it should be frugal. However, around 50 kilometers that we have driven it so far, it's only showing me 8 kmpl on the odometer. Now, it could be due to a lot of idling that we did on this one and the sudden burst of acceleration. But otherwise, this engine should be frugal in my opinion. How frugal it is in the real world condition, we'll have to wait a bit longer to find out.
Again, as I mentioned earlier, the 8 kmpl indicated mileage was due to the lack of update on the MIT. The real mileage in the diesel powertrain could be better, and we will check it out once we have the car back home.
But otherwise, this engine, it's my pick of the list, my pick of the three engine options that the Sierra is offering. And if I had to buy one, I would get this engine in my garage. More importantly, the Sierra, it will be offered with an all-wheel drive configuration. Now, it will come in a couple of years' time, say end of 26 or 27. Now, the trick is the all-wheel drive might be limited to the EV version. The EV will have a quad-wheel drive like the Harrier EV. It would be surprising if the Sierra EV didn't offer an all-wheel drive, because it has to. They have the technology, they have the potential, and the Sierra EV will be all-wheel drive. What people are waiting for is an all-wheel drive version in this ICE derivative. Now, in my opinion, if Tata decides to get an all-wheel drive with the Sierra, it has to be with this engine. It has got the potential, it has got the grunt that's needed for an all-wheel drive system, it has got proper approach and departure angle, and overall with this engine, with this gearbox, an all-wheel drive would work brilliantly, and it would be one of the few choices that does still offer this combination in this segment. So that should be an upper hand for the Sierra in this tough competition. And that's the reborn Tata Sierra for you. As I mentioned earlier, it comes in a very competitive segment, but to sum it up, it has all the positives that we come to expect from any new Tata, but at the same time, it also has a bit of a chink in its armor. Capitalizing on its nameplate and the nostalgia, the new Sierra does have a lot of people's aspirations and expectations riding on it. And it delivers that with a very refined turbo petrol engine, which is smooth but not very sporty or fuel efficient. We are yet to drive the naturally aspirated version or any of the manuals, but the diesel is stocky, has good grunt, and should be frugal for everyday use. And then there's features, ergonomics, and the ride quality that takes it home. So does the Sierra becomes the best C-SUV that you can buy in India right now? Well, not quite yet. Well, because dethroning the Creta is a big uphill task. And does the Sierra has what it takes to do it? Definitely yes, but can it come close to it? We'll have to wait a bit longer to see that. And that's all from me in this video. I hope you liked it, and if you did, do hit that like button and share this video with someone who's looking to buy the Tata Sierra or who's looking to buy any C-SUV and might consider the reborn Sierra for themselves. And if you have any other questions that I didn't cover in the course of this video, do write them down in the comment section below, and I promise we will address them all personally. And that's all from me in this video. This is Bilal signing off. Until next time.